by Lowe's.
A windy night in Brooklyn. Time to come inside the Barclays Center for a championship matchup between Pittsburgh and Stanford. Welcome to ESPN's coverage of college basketball, the championship game from the Progressive Legends Classic, part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's. Pittsburgh Panthers facing the Stanford Cardinal from Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, as we take a look at the bracket that has developed throughout these last two nights. Pittsburgh, a 76-53 win over Texas Tech. Stanford, a 10-point victory over Houston. And so Pittsburgh and Stanford meet tonight. As we welcome you courtside, Ryan Rucco alongside Kara Lawson. You know, Kara, we talk about this matchup. Pittsburgh definitely, while they're undefeated thus far, a different test tonight against Stanford.
By far the most difficult test to the season to this point. And when you look at Stanford in the front line, the problems they could present, it's going to be a great matchup. A lot of physical play in the front court. Both teams rebound the ball really well.
Take a look at tonight's one-on-one and what you need to focus on from each of these two teams, Pittsburgh and Stanford.
Well, Pitt, I mean, that program is synonymous with playing defense and toughness. And you look at that defense in the first few games of the year for Jamie Dixon, it has been on point. They throttled Texas Tech in the first 20 minutes last night, jumped out to a big lead. They play great defense. They don't foul. And this year, they're doing a good job of forcing turnovers. They're going against a balanced Cardinal attack. You look at Chasen Randall down there at the bottom, only 8 points. He leads the team in scoring at almost 20 per game. So a lot of balance and a lot of guys that Johnny Dawkins can get production from.
We'll take a look at the Progressive starting lineups, beginning with the Pittsburgh Panthers coming into today's game at 5-0. Cameron Wright, James Robinson, the underrated guard, rounding out the backcourt. Then it's Lamar Patterson, as well as Zana and Michael Young for Stanford. Chasen Randall, Anthony Brown, Josh Hustis, Dwight Powell, and Stephen Nastich. Jamie Dixon, the head coach of the Pitt Panthers, telling us before the game he knew that Stanford front court would be the big test. That's what he's looking forward to. He knows they have not yet faced a front court like that, and curious to see how his guys, especially a few of his younger players, how they'll hold up.
Well, he has two freshmen playing at the 4 position. When you look at Michael Young, who starts for him, and then Jamel Artis. So it's a good test, and this is what November's for, Ryan, is for testing yourself out against premier competition, and these two teams are going to get a big test tonight.
Powell wins the jump as Stanford controls. Stanford played a terrific second half last night in their win against Houston. Hustis had 13 points, 13 rebounds yesterday.
You see Pitt and they're man-to-man. It's their bread and butter. It's physical. They're going to be in gaps, try to wall off that paint, and not let Stanford's penetrators get to the basket.
Powell, pass was too tall, intercepted by Wright. Zana running the floor in with the flush.
Jamie Dixon always talks about how the break starts with your post. It starts with how fast your big guys can get down the floor, and Zana does not get outrun on a nightly basis.
Powell, a little bit too much on it. He was much more aggressive offensively in the second half last night. Patterson traveled as he made a little hesitation.
Again, transition, it's about your guards pushing, but it's more important that your bigs run, and that's what he can do to leave Zana. I mean, just a force in the paint, and Jamie Dixon is trying to get him going, for him to be a consistent offensive force. Remember, this is a guy that played next to Steven Adams a year ago, so he didn't get a ton of looks. Nice cut there by Josh Hustis.
Hustis with the flush. Yeah, Zana was quiet last night. Just 3 points in 17 minutes, but he was averaging more than 15 a game heading into yesterday's contest. There's that zone from Stanford. Shot clock is wound down to 10. Patterson, ball fake, pass fake. Robinson, a 3 is good.
He's improved. I mean, that was a big jump that James Robinson needed to make from his freshman and sophomore season, is knocking down outside shots. His ability to do that will be huge for Pitt.
Nastich trapped, passes out of it. And then that pass knocked in the air and out of bounds. Michael Young was able to get there in the lane. Johnny Dawkins, in his 6th year as head coach of Stanford, in search of his 100th win. And this year, the expectation, an NCAA tournament appearance for the Cardinal. Powell, hop step and got fouled. A deep catch through the D, and Powell will go to the line to shoot a pair.
Pitt came in that out of bounds in the 2-3 zone, and you know they played primarily 2-3 zone in their win against Fresno State. And I know some of the people around the Pitt program are like, Pitt 2-3 zone? What is going on? Because they've been so staunch defensively in their man-to-man. But it's something that Jamie Dixon is more willing to go to this year for a variety of reasons. One of them being the new emphasis in terms of fouling offensive players, but also, you know, the zone can also protect some of your guys from foul trouble, and they can utilize some of their depth on the wings.
Dixon's team thus far has been executing nicely, playing zone. Early on in this season, their defense has been just as suffocating as ever.
But he said, make no mistake about it, we're a man team. And
right.
That's always what Pitt is going to be about, is man-to-man toughness.
5-3 lead for Pitt in the early going over Stanford. Here comes the screen from Young. Robinson peering into that zone. It'll stay on the perimeter. Zana backed off of. Goes with the ball fake. Patterson, shovel, right, finish.
Really good offense there. I mean, really good offense. They got it to the elbow and then got a baseline cut. That's the way you attack a 2-3 zone.
James Robinson called for the foul in the backcourt. Jamie Dixon wanted to travel. Thought that Chasen Randall had taken an extra step into the body of Robinson, but instead a personal picked up 60 feet away. Powell, good backdoor feed. Eustace got denied by Patterson, and it last touched Eustace. It's Pittsburgh ball.
That's a good defensive play because he was beat. I mean, Eustace had him on that curl cut right off of Powell there and had a layup, and that's good recovery there by Lamar Patterson.
A little pressure in the backcourt from Stanford. Down court feed to Young, cutting through. And now Wright will settle things down. Zana, the face-up jumper. To leave Zana with a quick start. Pittsburgh has hit all 4 of their field goals. They have a 9-3 lead on Stanford with 16:44 to go in this first half.
And that's just an improvement in Zana's game. I mean, this year he's been very comfortable, particularly early in games, knocking down that 15-foot jump shot, facing. It's going to be pivotal in this game specifically from a matchup perspective because of the zone. He's not going to be able to post up one-on-one on the block and back somebody down.
And a quick start for Pittsburgh. The efficiency from the field, something you could get used to. And you see Zana has already topped his performance from yesterday. 4 points, had 3 all of yesterday against Texas Tech. But Pittsburgh, a lot of people around that program will tell you this could be Jamie Dixon's best shooting team he's had at Pitt.
Shooting team and pace. I mean,
yeah.
The tempo. And we saw that in the first half yesterday. 20 minutes, they came out like gangbusters. And this is kind of an interesting deal because Pittsburgh has played first halves very well so far this season. Stanford has been more of a second half team. And I asked Johnny Dawkins at shoot-around, are you a little concerned that Pittsburgh has gotten off to fast starts offensively and you haven't? He said, yeah, we talked about it with our guys. And, you know, we're hoping that they're going to come out with the fire on the offensive end.
Eustace fading away, left it a little short. Patterson the rebound for Pittsburgh. Patterson with the crossover. Around the Zana screen, right, along 2, off the mark, and Powell snatches the board. Anthony Brown had 20 points in 36 minutes last night for Stanford. Powell, good fake, and then the flush.
Wow.
That will get the bench up, and that will open the scouts' eyes. Plenty of them here at Barclays Center, and Dwight Powell, one of the players they're watching closely. Perimeter passing around the zone. Robinson. Just around the perimeter it goes. No attempt at penetration yet. Here it comes from Patterson. Sneaks one softly to the corner. Too softly. Shot clock is at 3. Right the leaner. No. Rebound. Knocked out of bounds. It touched Stanford last. It will be Pitt basketball. Pittsburgh with the early 9-5 lead, but Dwight Powell getting everybody up out of their seats.
Well, Stanford's offense was a little bit sleepy early on. Dwight Powell, he wakes the Cardinal offense up. They're still down 4, though.
ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. TrueCar. When buying a car, save time, save money, and never overpay. Visit TrueCar.com. And Dr. Pepper. Always one of a kind.
Pittsburgh with the 9-5 lead on Stanford. Progressive Legends Classic Championship game at Barclays Center. Johnny Dawkins in his 6th year at the helm of the Stanford Cardinal, seeking win number 100 for Stanford. And you take a look at the years that he's endured. 26 wins a couple of seasons ago, and then a disappointing campaign last year, trying to get back and fulfill those expectations of last year. This season off to a 5-1 start.
No, this is a team that expects to make the NCAA tournament, and so a game like this is important to Pitt and Stanford for that reason. It's a solid non-conference win. And you look at the amount of upperclassmen for Johnny Dawkins in his lineup. These guys have played together for 3 seasons, and they really want to go in their senior year to the NCAA tournament.
Randall up, under, and in for Chasen Randall, the engine that drives the Stanford offense.
Well, that's a great sign for Stanford because Chasen Randall got into a little bit of foul trouble yesterday and just wasn't himself on the offensive end. So for him to get an early bucket bodes well for the Cardinal.
They break the pressure. Patterson, ball fake, 3. Rounded out, and Nastage with the rebound. Here's Randall running the other way for Stanford. A 3, left it short. Followed it up, but Pittsburgh comes away with it. Here's Zana with Patterson to his right. Zana goes in alone, and no. And then whistles as bodies went flying. And it'll be a foul against Stanford on the loose ball. Josh Hustis called for the foul. His first personal, first team foul on Stanford. Cameron right back into the game. Josh Newkirk and Derek Randall in as well for Pittsburgh. Randall, the transfer from Rutgers, another one of those front court players who Jamie Dixon was curious as to how he's going to handle this Stanford front court. the size they have.
He's rebounded really well in limited minutes for Jamie Dixon, and you're going to look at Jamel Artis here too, who Jamie Dixon wants to see against this front court. How physical can they play? More importantly, their post defense. How can they defend these bigs on the front line?
Ron Johnson turns it over, then Powell gets swiped, trying to enter. And the foul against Pittsburgh, as Stanford has started to find its footing after a quick burst from the Panthers to begin.
You know, we saw it last night, Ryan, in the second half when Dwight Powell kind of turned it up. He turned it up a couple notches, and the Stanford team kind of went along with that. And, you know, he's just starting to figure out that when he's ultra aggressive, his team responds to him scoring on the offensive end.
And that time he received an ultra aggressive block from Artis, but Pittsburgh loses it. Down court pass to Powell, quick stop, lay in no, follow no, but a foul on Randall. And a sloppy couple of seconds of basketball, but Powell ends up on the line for two.
You know, when you're the best offensive player on your team and you're too passive at times, sometimes the rest of your team will take on your demeanor. And so I just think it's really important for Dwight Powell as he moves forward to maintain being aggressive. Yes, be unselfish. Yes, pass the basketball, but stay aggressive.
We could see that switch just flip yesterday for him in that second half, and it was such a difference. Powell ended up finishing with 20 points then on 8 of 16 shooting. Hits a couple free throws here, and this game tied at 9. Pittsburgh has come up empty its last 6 possessions, 0 of 4, and a couple of turnovers as well. Pressure broken by Newkirk. And now the Panthers will set up their half-court offense against this Stanford zone. Newkirk taking the entry pass. Johnson will fire. No. And the rebound to Powell after the box out from Verhoeven. Johnson on the steal. Has 2 to his left. Johnson curls it up with his left hand. No. Artis on the follow. And a foul on Anthony Brown of Stanford. First personal on Brown, second team foul on the Cardinal. Loose ball foul, so an inbound coming from Pitt.
That's 2 fouls that Pitt has picked up going to the offensive glass. I mean, there's always just a cloud of Navy jerseys trying to secure the basketball. They're one of the best teams in the country in terms of going after the basketball and getting second chance opportunities.
Right around the screen. Artis, the pop. He got it. That's a 3 for Jamel Artis.
And that's a difference. That's a different part of the game that Artis brings as a 4. One of the freshmen, you know, that Michael Young doesn't bring. Artis can step out, he can face, he can hit the 3-point shot. So it gives them a different look offensively when he's in the game.
Aaron Bright in at point. Powell traveled after the ball fake. Lamar Patterson got a quick breather back in for Pitt. Patterson was so terrific last night. 23 points on 8 of 13 shooting. And a career high 23. 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals. Josh Hustis will come spell Dwight Powell. So it's Bright, Randall, Brown, Verhoeven, and Hustis for Stanford. Newkirk, Patterson, Wright, Artis, and Randall for Pitt. Patterson is capable of operating the offense, weaving his way through. A catch-and-shoot 3, in and out for Newkirk, and over the back's going to be called on Randall. All too obvious there. That's the second foul on Derek Randall, so Talib Zana will check back in for Randall. Even though Randall's a junior, because it's his first year with Pitt, that was something that Jamie Dixon was curious about.
More the defense than anything else, right? I mean, you're not going to get on the floor with a Pitt uniform on if you don't defend. If you can't defend one-on-one, you're not going to get on the basketball court. That's a tough shot there by Randall. That was pretty good defense.
Jason Randall just acrobatically flipping it in. right. Here's Patterson. Perimeter passing against this zone. Shot clock is at 12. Patterson looking to enter. The kick, right, a three is good. He got that off quickly.
That's one of the improvements in Pitt is the fact that they have multiple guys that can knock down three-point shots. It really changes their offense.
Anthony Brown left it far too short, and now Pitt looking to push the other way. Newkirk will pull up from 18. In and out, and the box out from Eustis. Bright eyes up down the floor. Randall looking to dump in. Eustis trapped in the corner. Dangerous bounce pass is stolen and saved by Wright. Here's Patterson. The hook pass. Artis running through gets fouled. And Jamel Artis will go to the line after the pretty feed from Lamar Patterson when we get back. 10:38 to go in the first half. Pittsburgh, a 15-11 edge on Stanford in Brooklyn. Dixon's Pittsburgh Panthers, a 15-11 lead on Stanford, the Progressive Legends Classic Championship game. Midway through this first half, Pitt showing off that new three-point shooting.
Well, it's valuable tonight because they're going against a 2-3 zone. A 2-3 zone with a lot of length on that back line. So you look at the location of some of these threes, it's either off a driving kick or it's above that free throw line extended area where the length can't get to it. I mean, Eustis and Powell can shut that down pretty quickly and contest very well from those corner spots.
You think about Pitt, who as of now still certainly appears to have all the defensive elements we're used to. You add that shooting component, and they could end up being a team that's been slept on a little bit heading into this season.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is a team that lost a lottery pick in Steven Adams a season ago. I mean, he didn't have great numbers last year as a freshman, but he was a presence. Trey Woodall, their point guard. And so the biggest question coming in for Pitt to the season was, who's going to score? Who's going to be the shooting guard? Who's going to be the scorer? And I think Lamar Patterson has answered that in terms of a go-to scorer. But the fact that Robinson has improved his three-point shot. You look at Cameron Wright and his ability to knock it down. They have more options this season.
Artis at the line. Hits them both.
But let's say this. This is the first test, and there are going to be many more tests in conference play.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't played. Now, granted, it's easier to make shots against teams that aren't of the BCS level. And so when they get into ACC play and the defenses get better, that's going to be the challenge. Who can knock down those tough shots then?
Pitt often has success here in New York, as Eustis has his miss cleaned up nicely by Powell. Dwight Powell very active in the early going. Powell has 7 points and 4 rebounds.
already the offense looking a little more settled. Powell in the game. I mean, they didn't have Powell or Nastich in the game the last few times down the court, and they didn't have an anchor inside to go to.
Zana, good ball fake, then gets denied by Houston, controlled by Brown. Jason Randall operating the Stanford offense. Brown thought about the entry pass, now gets it to Bright. Bright looking to zig pass right. Still plenty of time on the shot clock. Powell, deep catch, quick turn, fired pass. Randall a three, is in and out. Robinson the rebound. Kevin Wright was all alone. Now he gets it going baseline. The shovel to Zana. Nice feed from Wright, and Pittsburgh the 6-point edge. And it's going the other way. Johnny Dawkins not happy about it. So the foul called on Anthony Brown. And for Brown, that is his second personal.
Wow.
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe they call a little bit of a push into the defender there.
There sure wasn't a lot of contact.
Zana trying to flip it in with the left hand. Couldn't get it to go down. And another rebound for Powell. Powell's up to 5 boards to go with his 7 points. Nastich the quick turn, and that's what you're talking about, Carol.
No, you got an anchor down low, and granted now, this is Artis that's in there, so he's not their low post 4 player like Michael Young is, so you're going to have an advantage. Whether he's checking Powell, he's checking Nastich. If you get one-on-one before the double can come, make a quick move, and that's what Nastich did there.
Here's Patterson. Right around the screen. Robinson entering. Patterson a three is good.
Yeah, I mean, you just see James Robinson there set it all up. He knew where he was going all along, and Lamar Patterson, another one of those Pitt Panthers that has really improved his outside shot from last season.
They are 4 of 7 from 3 thus far. Biggest lead of the night for Pitt. It's up to 7. Right with the stutter step. The hesitation at bodies. Will take a 3. He got it. Wright got lost there for a minute and said, okay, I'll cash in on this.
He's a guy you can lose every once in a while.
Yeah. Not a taller fellow.
No.
5'11".
That's being generous.
Yeah, I think so. I'm a real 5'10", Karen. I mean,
right.
Yeah. Patterson swooping in, curling it in and out, but he drew the contact. And Lamar Patterson to the line to shoot a pair. Pittsburgh, a 4-point first half edge on Stanford at Barclays Center. reminder that ESPN2 will have the championship game from the Old Spice Classic in Orlando, Florida this coming Sunday, December 1st at 7:30 Eastern. You take a look at the bracket of the Old Spice Classic, and you know what? You're going to be there, Kara.
I'll be there. I'm excited about it. I'll have the bottom half of that bracket. So Memphis and Siena, LSU and St. Joseph's. And, you know, Johnny Jones at LSU has some really good freshmen. And they might not be of the ilk of Jabari Parker, Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle, but he's got some pretty good ones. Jordan Mickey had them in the tip-off marathon versus UMass, and he's a really nice-looking young player.
Now, are you excited because of the contest or because you're going to Orlando and escaping this cold here in Brooklyn?
I might, you know, partake in a couple of the Mickey Mouse adventures
Go
down
enjoy
there.
it.
Yeah.
You know, we get discounts at this company there.
That's what I hear.
Patterson hits both free throws. As into the game checks Deron Johnson. And Patterson will head out. Lamar Patterson with 5 points and 4 assists already for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has 8 assists on 8 field goals. Here's Pitt in his zone. Wright looking to break it with dribble penetration. It's stolen. Here's Robinson with Wright flying from his left and laying it in.
See, that's the pace, and that's the tempo that we talked about. I mean, Pitt can really get out and run. They're forcing more turnovers this season, and that enables guards like Wright to get out there and get some finishes in transition.
Largest lead for Pitt, it's 8. In the corner, a 3 for Randall is too strong. Powell, the weak side board. Eustace after the nice feed from Powell.
Yeah, good patience there by Stanford. I mean, it was kind of a quick shot in the corner for Randall, but Powell getting that offensive board kind of settled them down.
Wright swooping in, up and under, and he put it on. Nastich had it poked away, scooped up by Robinson, foul on Nastich.
Starting to feel it turn a little bit Pitt's way, right? On the offensive end, they're getting into the lane at ease. On the defensive end, they're really affecting the rhythm of Stanford.
Second foul on Nastich, 16th foul against Stanford. So bonus situation here, 4th for Pittsburgh. They'll be shooting a 1-and-1 on the next Stanford foul.
Turnovers and letting guys get into the paint. It's kind of the first half what happened to Stanford last night. They turned the basketball over against Houston, and they were down. They were down 7-8 points, kind of at this juncture in the first half. So they've got to get a handle on keeping guys in front of them and not giving up easy opportunities.
Robinson around the screen for Zana. 10 to shoot. Zana gives it up to Cameron Wright. Wright with 4 to shoot, dangerous pass. Johnson flipped it up with 1 on the shot clock, was able to draw the foul.
Where'd the shot come from? I mean, he had 2 feet in the paint. And on a skip sometimes, on a zone, it puts the defense in a closeout opportunity. But here's where we see the inconsistency of Stanford. And I would say the #1 area that they need to improve going forward, you don't lose your basic defensive principles because you're in the zone. Keeping the man in front, closing out, forcing people baseline, not letting them go middle. Those are areas that's kind of an ebb and flow for them on the defensive end that they've got to really shore up.
Johnson hits both after the foul on Skylar Rimmer. If that's not a basketball name, I don't know what is. Cameron Wright checks out to a nice applause from the Pitt faithful. A 10-point Pittsburgh edge. The first time their lead has seen double digits. Powell tried to slip one in there, and that's just too much traffic.
Another turnover, and you know, it's hard to ask a big man to go down to his knees and catch the basketball coming in with that much fire on it.
8 turnovers now for Stanford. Comes the high screen from Young. Young, nice find underneath, and Zana gets fouled. Another interior touch and another trip to the line.
Yeah, it's 2 feet in the paint. I mean, look where Pittsburgh is attempting their field goals. I mean, Zana gets right there. He's shooting a layup. And, you know, credit them. I mean, let's give some credit to Pitt as well on the offensive end. They're being very patient. They're attacking the zone. They're getting the ball to that free throw line area, and they're making timely cuts along that baseline.
Anthony Brown back in with the 2 fouls for Stanford. Zana has 7 points in this first half. He had 3 all of last night. And it's a 10-2 Pittsburgh run. The lead is 12. And a timeout taken by Stanford. Pittsburgh is fired up. A nice first half burst. And Pittsburgh has been forcing Stanford into quite a few turnovers of late.
One of the things you can't do is add more fuel to the fire against a team that bases everything off their defense. And that's what Pitt is. They base everything off their defense. And you start doing this, turning the basketball over early in possessions, giving them live ball turnovers like this, allowing them to leak out and get free looks at the basket, free runs at the basket, you're going to go uphill. And you're going to go uphill all night. And so Stanford really has to get under control. They're very skilled. They have versatile players. They're balanced on the offensive end. Use the skill and use your teammates to find quality shots.
Pittsburgh has gotten used to effective first half. That's something Jamie Dixon highlighted to us before tonight's game, saying what he saw last night, what Pittsburgh was able to do, jumping out to an enormous lead against Texas Tech in the first half. That's what he's been accustomed to thus far this season.
Texas Tech didn't know what hit him.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, Pitt came out just so aggressive, knocking in shots from everywhere. Lamar Patterson was very good offensively.
It was 34-8 before you knew it. Powell pushes it in and brings an end to the Pittsburgh run. Dwight Powell with 9 points on 3 of 6 shooting. Newkirk around the screen from Zana. Here's Patterson. Patterson, good shot fake, and he got Bright to bite. Bonus situation, so Patterson will go to the line to shoot a 1-and-1. Pittsburgh having a typical first half. A 10-point edge on Stanford here in Brooklyn.
ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving.
At Barclays Center, Pittsburgh with a 32-22 lead on Stanford. The Progressive Legends Classic, part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's. And while we were away, a technical foul called on the Stanford bench. They were continuing to argue after having been warned through the break. So a technical foul was assessed. So Lamar Patterson, who was already shooting a 1-and-1, and Pittsburgh will then get additional free throw and the basketball. And if you're Stanford trying to cut into this lead before the half, that's not the way to do it.
No, it's tough. I mean, you're already down double digits to a team that has really, I don't want to say dominated, but they've controlled. They've controlled the first half. So
Patterson hits the first free throw. Stanford coaching staff, Coach O'Toole and Johnny Dawkins, not happy with the technical foul as Patterson hits both. And now we'll go to the line for an additional free throw. And this is going to be the live ball free throw as he misses, so 2 of 3 for Patterson.
missed opportunity there by Pitt. I mean, they could have had that as a four-point possession.
And a whistle.
It was a tip foul.
Jamie Dixon was upset about something, but he won't be upset about that. 10 for 20 from the floor. 10 field goals on 9 assists. His team's been good from the line and from 3. Randall floats it almost too tall for Aaron Bright. The dump pass, the hook, no, from Rimmer, and here comes Pitt the other way. Stepping into a 3, there's Johnson, and Deron Johnson, he will fire quickly in from anywhere and got a good look there. 5 of 8, Pitt is from 3, and it's a 15-point lead on an 11-2 run. Here's Bright. No, and Robinson able to grab the board. You can see the zest in the step right now of Pittsburgh. Here's Patterson.
And you see Stanford out of that zone. I mean, they've gone to the man-to-man and trying to change it up, and get Pitt out of this rhythm on the offensive end.
And they have on this possession. Robinson pivoting with 6 to shoot. Zana's man fell down, and he fell down because Zana pushed him. So it's going the other way. Hey, coming up in our Sports Center U halftime report, take an early season tournament highlight look, plus a look ahead to the NIT season tip-off. First half stats and highlights as well. That's on the Sports Center U halftime report.
Now remember, 3 Stanford players with 2 fouls. It's part of the reason why the Stanford bench is upset. They've got 2-to-1 foul ratio here in the first half. So Anthony Brown is the only one of those 3 players on the floor. And he's checking Lamar Patterson. So he's got to be very careful here in this position. And you see they go back to that 2-3 zone to kind of protect him a little bit.
Patterson, a long 3, in and out. And the rebound out of bounds off of Stanford. There were 3 Stanford bodies in there, but Zana provided enough of a fight to keep it alive. And Johnny Dawkins not going to be happy with not securing that rebound. When you're trying to come back in a game and you get a stop, oh, it kills you when you don't get the rebound.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to play another 35 seconds of defense.
A down court chuck. Patterson flags down 80 feet away. Robinson, the long 2. In and out. Zana keeping it alive, but it's out of bounds off of Pittsburgh. And it's Stanford basketball with 1:39 to go in this first half as Deron Johnson checks back in for Pitt. Jamel Artis will head out.
important possessions for Stanford here. I mean, you're probably guaranteed 2 possessions, maybe 3, depending on it. They have to be quality ones. They have to be ones where you give yourself an opportunity to score.
A 3 from the corner is no good for Gage. And now Pitt looking to run. Johnson a 3. No, follows it up though. Power dribble and spins it home. Powell, nice look to a cutting Randall.
Yeah, he's talented. I mean, Powell leads their team in assists from the power forward position, and he's really done it all on the offensive end tonight. He's really been their main source of offense, kept them in this ball game.
Comes the screen from Patterson. Patterson with the hesitation, the explosion, almost got the bucket, did get the foul. And Lamar Patterson just showing off another area of his game. He's so versatile. He has 4 assists in this first half, 7 points. Make it 8.
Oh, and he's so good right there in the middle of that zone. You see that on the offensive end, he turned and faced, and he saw that he had Gage on him and said, I've got the quickness advantage. I'm going to get to the rim. But he's also strong enough to finish against big guys when he gets in there.
Both free throws good for Patterson as Jamel Artis comes in for Deron Johnson.
You know, there's a special urgency when you get to your senior year. Lamar Patterson, a 5th-year senior, and he really went into the summer, lost 10 pounds, got fit, knew they're making the transition to the ACC, and really wants Pitt to get back to the NCAA tournament again. Remember, they lost a season ago, 2nd round to Wichita State, who ended up going to the Final Four.
Randall's pass stolen by Robinson. Robinson gets whacked and will go to the stripe after the careless turnover from Chasen Randall.
You said it right there, Ryan, careless. And I think that's what's got to frustrate Johnny Dawkins and his staff here in the first half is some of these turnovers were, I don't want to say unforced because you have to credit Pitt for being in passing lanes, but just lazy, careless, not really crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and you can't do that against Pitt because they are going to capitalize, and they're going to capitalize every time. They are waiting for you to relax, waiting for you to make a mistake, and then they pounce on it.
Robinson. You see the disparity in the free throws. Pitt has been 13 of 14. Stanford just 4 trips to the stripe, and Robinson hits another. And Pittsburgh will call 30-second timeout with a 17-point lead for the Panthers, their largest of the night. A reminder that ESPN will have the championship game from the EA Sports Maui Invitational as part of Feast Week presented by Lowe's. That'll be tomorrow at 10 Eastern. And number 8 Syracuse will take on Baylor or Dayton. Meanwhile, Jamie Dixon's team off to a tremendous start, and here he is with a 17-point lead, still coaching the final 5.5 seconds of this first half.
Oh, last night, I mean, when he was up and there was a minute left, I mean, his hands were still tense. I mean, he's fired up, and you know, his team, the ability to get guys to buy into your system, to play as hard, to play as tough as Jamie Dixon gets these guys to play on a night-in, night-out basis. Not everybody does that. Not everybody has a program like Pitt, and you certainly have to credit Jamie Dixon for instilling that type of work ethic into his players.
Randall streaking through, and he was fouled with 2.4 seconds left. They'll call a blocking foul. Second foul on Robinson.
There's contact there. I mean, he wasn't set.
One and one, and Randall hits the first. hits both. As Newkirk will check in for the final 2.5 seconds of this first half. Robinson, will he get it off in time? He will. Off the mark. But Pittsburgh closes the half strong, outscoring Stanford 21-10 in the final 7.5 minutes. Pittsburgh outstanding from the field and especially the line where they did significant damage. A +9 at the line compared to Stanford to help build a 15-point lead. We'll return with the SportsCenter U halftime report following these messages.
Second half, Pitt, Stanford after this halftime report here with the head coach, Seth Greenberg, Jay Williams. I'm Carl Ravitch. A lot of games going on from Maui through New York. Kansas City's got some games as well. Let's find out what's going on the island of Maui. That's where Jim Boeheim and his ACC Syracuse Orange are dealing with Pac-12 Cal. Justin Cobb, step in.
Cal was trying to do everything on a defensive end, considering they were playing without one of their best players, Richard Solomon, down low.
But it's a 54-all game. Later, Syracuse up. Watch Jeremy Grant. He's in the left side of your screen. Now he's flying.
Jeremy Moo Grant, he is hard to keep off offensive glass, does a great job on the baseline attacking the basket.
Cuse had a couple of spurts in this game late with some steals, and then this off the inbounds three.
The one guy you have to always be aware of is where he's on the floor is Trevor Quinn. You have to find him. How about Tyler Ennis having a big-time game, finding Trevor Quinn for another three?
You guys all like the way Syracuse played in this game.
I love the way Tyler Ennis played. No freshman is more important to their basketball team than Tyler Ennis.
All right, so Syracuse 92-81. Ennis was good. Grant was good. We didn't even mention Fair, and he had his usual 18-19 points in this game. So Syracuse moves on to their championship game. Syracuse has never lost in Maui. How about Gonzaga? They have lost in Maui. They were dealing with Chaminade, Mark Few's team, in the first half, up 18-14. Kevin Pangos launches.
And not in foul trouble in this game like he was in last game against Dayton. They shot 57% from the three-point line.
All right, Gerard Coleman, supporting act. He had 19. So did Sam Dower Jr. in this one.
Coleman's so important to Gonzaga. His ability to attack on the baseline, his quickness, his ability to get to the front of the rim, but most importantly, he needs to be a lockdown defender.
For all the fouls we're getting in games, we're seeing some high scoring, 113 there for Gonzaga. That, of course, is the son of Rick Pitino. That's Richard Pitino. And defense was the story in this Arkansas-Minnesota game as well.
Both teams create offense out of their defense. Minnesota did a terrific job in the second half, scoring the ball, getting into that pressure, and did a great job of trapping ball screen situation.
Arkansas did take over after the break. Their defense was ridiculous. They scored 52 points in the second half.
The accumulative effect of their defensive pressure this game, and Michael Qualls right here with a big-time rip through the baseline and a strong finish at the rim. Stay down, little man.
Arkansas's lead goes to 12, trailing by 13. More pressure. There isn't a second for a Minnesota player to get up. Arkansas in their grill. 87-73 is your final. That's Moses Kingsley with the steal and the flush. The Fighting Ollies. That's Shabazz Napier in Connecticut taking on Loyola of Maryland. Napier to Neal's get by. He wears 5. He'll throw down.
Pound for pound, Shabazz Napier is the best player in college basketball.
All right, there he is again, finding in the corner Omar Calhoun for a rainbow 3.
This team is loaded at the guard position. If DeAndre Daniels continues to improve his game, look for this team to make a run in the NCAA tournament.
That's Daniels there. Nobody seemed to think he was going to shoot the ball from out there. No one followed him. Then Napier with a fadeaway. It misses. Daniels gets the board and the bucket.
That's the key for UConn. Can they rebound the basketball?
And how about Boston College and Sacred Heart, another team from Connecticut, Sacred Heart. This one was a lot closer, I got to believe, than people thought. Sacred Heart, they had themselves an 11-point lead.
Boston College really struggling on the defensive end. They're last in the ACC in defensive field goal percentage defense.
Gaetano hit a deep 3, hit another one there, 56-54, BC down 2. Now Boston College, after a Joe Rahone 3, leads by a point.
This Boston College team, they returned 5 starters from last year's team, and everybody expected them to have a big-time season. But still, listen, it was ugly. They found a way to win.
In overtime, they did it. Rahone again on the baseline. BC wins it 75-67. On NIT, boys and girls, this on the night before Thanksgiving, Arizona and Duke. 7 and 9:30 Eastern Time. Tell me something to look forward to as I watch the Duke Blue Devils here.
They've got to guard the basketball. They've got to finish possessions. Their last 2 games, they really struggled defending the ball. And do they have a leader? To me, that's the biggest question. I think of Duke basketball. I think of tight hustles. I think of leadership. I think of toughness. I think they're void of those traits right now.
Rasheed Suleiman, his point scoring is down. I think his offense has dictated the way he plays defense. Duke needs to be committed on the defensive end to get to where they want to go.
And they haven't been yet?
No, they haven't. They've been absolutely horrible on the perimeter.
All right, boys and girls, that's Jay Williams, Seth Greenberg. I'm Carl Ravitch. Enjoy your second half as we send it back to the game.
Wiggins. Showtime. Are you serious? Are you serious? Remember the name, Jabari Parker.
Aaron Gordon, he is one of the high risers in all of college basketball.
That is a powerful finish by Julius Randle.
He is a big-time player.
Well, a reminder that the championship game of the NIT season tip-off from Madison Square Garden can be seen this coming Friday on ESPN at 6 Eastern. The championship game part of ESPN's Journey to the Tourney, presented by Sonic, a season-long spotlight on games that will impact the tournament. As we welcome you courtside, Ryan Rucco alongside Kara Lawson. You know, Kara, these freshmen, I mean, this is a year where you have everybody from jump with so many freshmen on their radar and thinking about what they're going to be in the pros.
It's exciting. And when you look at the skills that they have, I mean, these are freshmen that really have hit the ground running. And I think that's what's kind of perpetuated, you know, this is the fact that they've come in and just complete players. You look at Jabari Parker and what he's done in the early going, maybe the most impressive of the 4 freshmen coming in. And, I mean, look at that, 23 and 8, so efficient. Aaron Gordon, he's yet to have kind of that breakout game that Jabari Parker had in the Champions Classic, but fun to watch, and I think everybody's eyeballing that potential.
Yes.
We say potential because we don't want to discount what LaSalle and Alabama bring to the table, matchup there in that NIT final between Duke and Arizona.
Yeah, would certainly love to see Parker and Gordon go at it in that game. Whether or not we will still remains to be seen. But this year, that's part of the tenor of college basketball, taking a focus on that. Meanwhile, here in our game tonight, you have a Pittsburgh team that did not get that kind of attention before the season, but they're going to start earning it if they continue to play like they did last night and they have tonight.
Absolutely, and you know, part of that is this is really their first big game, their first big-time opponent, and they've responded. I mean, they clearly controlled tempo on both ends of the floor. They disrupted Stanford on the offensive end. This is a good team. This is a good Pitt team, and it's a fun-to-watch Pitt team. And even though Pitt has had good teams in the past, you couldn't always say they're fun to watch.
Grind it out.
Yeah, right. This team is fun to watch.
You know what? They are going to play some more basketball. So if you think they're fun to watch, you're going to have 20 more minutes of it. We'll be back in a moment from Barclays Center.
ESPN's Feast Week, presented by Lowe's.
Pittsburgh with a 43-28 lead on Stanford in Brooklyn. As we welcome you back to ESPN's coverage of the Progressive Legends Classic, Ryan Rucco alongside Kara Lawson. You know, we talked a little bit about Pitt a few moments ago and what they've been able to do in this first half. How about Stanford and what they're going to need to do to get back in this thing in the second half?
You know, Stanford was so out of rhythm on the offensive end, and Pitt turned them over. But I really think Stanford defensively, I mean, you give up 43 points, you foul, you put them to the line multiple times. Defensively, they've got to set a tone here, and it starts with this first possession.
Take a look at the highlights from that opening half.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you talked about, the Stanford offense. I mean, this really helped fuel Pitt. I mean, their turnovers, they were the aggressors on the defensive end. Passing lanes, gap defense, as the Panthers like to call it, they were all over it, and they had Stanford completely rattled on that end of the floor. And that, in turn, fueled their offense. I mean, 43 points. This is a Pitt team that averages 80 points a game. They're right on that mark.
Johnny Dawkins certainly doesn't like to see those turnovers as we take a look at tonight's first half stats brought to you by TrueCar. And you know, both teams shot well from the floor, but you see the difference in the points off turnovers, the difference in the free throws as well. And that's really where the difference was in that first half. Also, the three ball really used to the advantage of Pitt.
Yeah, knocking down three-point shots against that Stanford zone was big. They got going early and got into a rhythm on the offensive end.
So Pittsburgh, who had a dominant win over Texas Tech last night, looking to complete the dominant couple of days here in Brooklyn with a win of this Progressive Legends Classic Championship game. Screen set by Young. Cameron Wright had a very effective first half, scored 9. Him and Patterson each had 9, and there Patterson's pass was knocked out of bounds by Powell. Upset with himself because if he clawed it, it would have been Stanford basketball. Instead, 6 to shoot for Pitt.
Stanford opens in a man, and what their man allows them to do, because they have a lot of same-size guys, they can switch all those Pitt ball screens.
Patterson, jab step, jumper, good. Patterson with 11 points. Leads all Pitt scores. Powell flings one out to Brown. He got it. Anthony Brown better than 50% from 3 on the year, and Stanford could use more looks like that for Brown.
Well, that's just a really nice play by Powell. I mean, that's 6'10", turning, facing, driving, and finding a guy on a corner pass.
Randall the lob to Powell, who oops the alley. And Jamie Dixon is not going to let this marinate. He immediately takes a timeout.
I like the timeout because you don't want to let Stanford, kind of string together too many offensive possessions.
Pittsburgh with the 12-point edge on Stanford, and a little alley-oop from Randall to Powell.
Well, we've seen this from Powell. His aggressive nature, it changes the tenor of Stanford and their attitude. They're going to need more of that coming back.
ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving.
Pittsburgh, a 12-point lead on Stanford at the Progressive Legends Classic Championship game in Brooklyn. But a quick start here for Stanford in the second half, and that led to a quick timeout from Jamie Dixon.
Well, Stanford defensively, I mean, even that shot Lamar Patterson hit, that was a good defensive possession for the Cardinal. They get the turnover, and Dwight Powell, I mean, he continues to impress. We talked about this at the top of the show, Ryan. Pitt has been a first-half team for the better part of the season. Stanford has been a second-half team. So let's see if they can continue that trend.
Nice backdoor feed from Patterson. Not enough on it from Robinson. Young able to push it home, and a foul. Amongst multiple Stanford jerseys, it was Young who came up with the bucket.
I mean, just great job here by Michael Young. And I mean, that's the entire Stanford front court that he's going up against and able to finish. And that's a costly foul because it's a third foul on Josh Huestis. And Huestis gives them rebounding ability to kind of contend with Pitt on the glass.
Also, if you secure that rebound, it's another stop. Instead, now you have a turnover after that three-point play and a transition opportunity for Zahn. And after that Jamie Dixon timeout, the lead back up to 17.
And that's what you do. I mean, as a coach, it's a great timeout. You break up the rhythm. You get your guys settled. Two good possessions for them.
Nastich working on Zahn. Nastich turning inside and got in deep.
Pitt was going with the double early in the first half there on the post catches. They let Nastich go one-on-one there. It's a nice finish by the big fella.
Young. Here's Young cutting through, got whacked by Powell. And Michael Young to the line where Pittsburgh has lived today.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Pitt, and we talked about them being a transition team, and really their pace and their tempo being better this year. Defense to offense, how can you convert it? Big man, Zana running, and you want to be a great transition team. You got to have wings that run hard, but if you have a post that runs hard, that opens up so many things for you on that end of the floor.
You see all five just dashing at the same time, like they were down out of their sprinter's stance. And that is the more versatile Pitt team who has lived at the line 17 of 18. They have cashed in on their free throws, and they've been to the line 12 more times than Stanford. Brown, another. Anthony Brown will drain those all day if he gets them.
Huestis and Brown played spotty minutes in that first half because of foul trouble, and both picked up 2. So now maybe we see Stanford for a good stretch of minutes with their full complement of their starting lineup.
That pass knocked away by Powell. As Jamel Artis will check in for Pitt. Michael Young heading out for the Panthers. Here's Robinson. Screen from Artis. Got Powell in the air. Shot clock is down to 3. Patterson will pop. In and out. Zana just pushed Randall aside, and he'll be called for the over the back.
Well, they've been better. They've been better in this man-to-man, Ryan. I mean, they've contained better on that ball screen action. The switch there, that was a great contest by Nastich. So they're finding a little bit of traction here on the defensive end.
Second foul on Zana. And you can see Pitt set up in that zone defensively. Powell thought about the penetration, tried to slip a pass, and a kickball is called on Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown saying, on Lamar Patterson. Patterson saying, but it wasn't intentional, and then was told, you stuck out your foot there.
Doesn't matter whether it's intentional or not.
It hit that foot. Brown from 18. He got it. Anthony Brown with 8 points, all coming in the early moments of this second half.
You know, if I'm Pitt here, you got to know Houston has 4 fouls, and your best offensive player, Lamar Patterson, that's who he's trying to check. And that's a good shot there by Wright, but maybe put him in a situation where he can get some ISO work and see what he can do against Houston.
15:52 to go in this second half. Pittsburgh with a 54-40 lead on Stanford. As Jamie Dixon calls the timeout. Hey, a reminder that ESPN2 will have the championship game from the Old Spice Classic in Orlando, Florida this coming Sunday at 7:30 Eastern. Take a look at the matchups there. And really what we're just doing is documenting Kara's travel plans for you.
I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of the Northeast.
Yeah.
Storm is coming,
The
buddy.
storm is coming, and you are bolting.
I'm going to Florida. But if you haven't had a chance to see Marcus Smart yet, I don't know what you've been doing weeknight watching basketball, because he has been the best player in the country to this point. And they have a tremendous team. A huge win over USF last night for Travis Ford's squad. And it's not just Marcus Smart. I mean, Markel Brown, LeBrian Nash. They've got a ton of talented players for that Cowboy team.
Jamie Dixon orchestrating the defense in the timeout. Stanford has gotten good looks in this second half. They're 5 of 5 from the floor.
We saw a hot shooting performance for the second 20 minutes last night in their win over Houston.
Powell eyes up as he finds Brown. Brown off balance. A little bit too much on it. Here's Robinson. Patterson around the Zana screen. Curls it to him on the roll. Zana, the hesitation, was blocked. Gets it back. Patterson all alone. You bet. And it's 17 again. Patterson has 14 as a blocking foul goes against Cameron Wright on the drive from Chasen Randall. We'll step aside. Timeout on the floor. 15-14 to go in the second half. Pittsburgh dominant again. Pittsburgh with a 57-40 lead on Stanford with 15-14 to go in the second half. Plenty of Panthers with a local connection. As you take a look, Derek Randall, Chris Jones, Lamar Patterson, Mike Young, and then Barry Rorston and Brandon Knight.
Brandon Knight. And there's also a connection between the Pitt and the Stanford programs in the Knight family. Of course, Brandon was a great point guard for the Pitt program, and his older brother, Brevin, was one of the best point guards in Stanford history. And I tweeted Brevin earlier today. I said, man, who are you going for?
Yeah.
You going for your brother's team or you going for your alma mater? He said, no question, Nerd Nation, go Card. I said, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rooting against the family.
Rooting against the family.
All right. On Thanksgiving, too, I mean, it just feels a little wrong. Brown, a corner three. Oh, Everything's going down for Anthony Brown in this second half.
You know, I like the move by Johnny Dawkins to keep Josh Eustace in the ball game, even though he has 3 fouls. I mean, you're in a situation where you're down, Pitt's playing well, and you got a lineup that's finally starting to get it going on the offensive end.
Patterson looking to break down Eustace. He held. Patterson, pull-up jumper is good. Lamar Patterson answering Anthony Brown. Back and forth they go. Brown has scored the last 8 Stanford points. Eustace trying to change that.
Yeah, nice drive there by Eustace. I mean, using his size advantage over Lamar Patterson, but Patterson seems to be in a good comfort zone when he gets the basketball. Freezes you a little bit with his eyes and then pulls up for the jumper.
Yes, 16 points and 5 assists, Patterson. Patterson finds Zana. He's hooked. Once again, Patterson drawing multiple defenders, and the roll man is open.
He's a good player. I mean, you know, Pitt just has some really good pieces, and Patterson obviously is a feature and what he's done with his body and really his aggressiveness. But, I mean, just their whole team. I mean, you look at James Robinson and the way he, you know, played alongside Trey Woodall last year, but now he's got kind of the full-time point guard position. Talib Zana, a player that has to take on more of the load in the front court, really the only experienced guy they have coming back.
And you see Zana's had a big night after a quiet performance last night against Texas Tech.
They're going to need consistent scoring from him this year. I mean, that's without question. When you look at the fact that there's two freshmen in the front court with him, and then you've got Derek Randall, who's coming in right now, first year in the program. Zana's going to have to be the go-to guy and going to have to produce double figures each night.
Pittsburgh has been outstanding from the line, 19 of 20. And now a foul on Randall, who is tied up with Nastich. And we've seen Randall has had a tough time not picking up fouls working in the post tonight.
Well, it's one of the things that Jamie Dixon really emphasized with this group coming into this Legends Classic was post defense. They knew they were going to face some teams that had, you know, some post players that could cause them some problems. Post defense without fouling.
Randall from Nastich. No, Nastich went just soaring in and then tumbled to the deck. Here's Robinson. Robinson with the breakdown and the foul drawn as Pittsburgh just continues to get to the line. Third foul on Anthony Brown now as well. So Eustace and Brown. And you take a look at the difference in the free throw department. That's basically your game.
It's your game, but, you know, behind that shows the aggressiveness of Pitt, their ability to get into the lane. And a lot of these fouls were because Pitt was going to have a layup. Right. And Stanford's players fouled them, you know, in lieu of the layup. So they've been the better quality offensive team.
Really from start,
yes.
You've been pointing out, Kara. I mean, looks in the paint,
2 feet in the paint, right? Yeah. I mean, if you look at their field goal attempts, not just their makes. I mean, Stanford might have more points in the paint, but their attempts that got them to the free throw line, 2 feet in the paint, 2 feet in the paint. And if you do that, you're going to win a lot of ball games.
Robinson will get a breather. Newkirk into the game for Pitt. Aaron Bright in for Stanford, controlling the point. Here's Powell. Got the step. Look at Powell. Soar in, left it a little off. And then a goaltend is called. As it was tapped on the rim. And the bucket will count. Ryan Rucco, Kara Lawson with you, our entire crew. Appreciate you spending some of your Tuesday evening with us. Progressive Legends Classic championship game at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Part of Feast Week presented by Lowe's. And right now it's Lamar Patterson who is feasting on Stanford's D. A continuation of what we saw him do to Texas Tech last night. Patterson has 18. He had a career-high 23 yesterday. Here's Powell. Little fend off, dish underneath, juggled. Eustace trapped, out of bounds, and Stanford turns it over.
Everything is challenged. I mean, just take a look at the difference between defenses for Pitt and for Stanford. They almost have to make, Stanford has to make a great play, a great offensive play in order to score. And it seems like Pitt is able to get what they want every time down the court. And that's a function of Pitt and their defensive style and just being committed to keeping you out of the paint and making things difficult.
Doing it having played yesterday as well, continuing with that defensive energy. Here comes a screen, set by Randall. Johnson off the dribble. No. And Brown able to haul down the rebound. Eustace, it got there a little late. Here's Powell. Swooping in, curled it around, and got the foul. Powell will shoot a couple of free throws when we get back. Pittsburgh, an 18-point lead, second half action. An 18-point Pittsburgh lead in the Progressive Legends Classic Championship at Barclays Center. And Lamar Patterson, a huge reason why the Panthers have that cushiony advantage.
Well, so efficient in this season. We talked about he's come back 10 pounds lighter. He's more athletic. His ability to knock down the shot, much more efficient this season, shooting over 45% from three. So a different element that we've seen from Pitt, and Lamar Patterson has been the guy creating offense, not just scoring, Ryan. I mean, he's leading their team in assists, and he's done it on both ends of the floor tonight.
Lamar Patterson, 18 points, 5 of 8 shooting, 5 assists, 6 of 7 from the line as well. This coming off a performance yesterday, in which Patterson had 23 points, 4 assists, 5 steals.
Filling it up.
Yes, that is a complete stat line. And you could tell, talking before the game with Jamie Dixon, he is thrilled with what you've talked about throughout this game, the body adjustments that Lamar Patterson made, losing 10 pounds and the way that's helped him, and also just the shot.
Yep. And there's a couple Pitt players that really have improved their shot over the summer, and it makes a difference. I mean, the work you do in the summer, it can pay big-time dividends for you during the college basketball season, and we're seeing that with Lamar Patterson. He put in the time, and he's reaping the rewards.
Some pressure applied by Stanford. Johnson around the Randall screen. Here's Patterson. Shot clock is down to 5. Patterson trying to make something happen. Robinson just floated it up, and it was nearly tipped in by Young. Good defensive possession from Stanford. Can they cash in with a bucket on the other end? Foul. Foul called against Young as he was guarding Powell. As Talib Zana checks back in for Pittsburgh. Randall will head out. Not going to get away with that contact anymore. Bright in at the point. Powell came flashing to the foul line. Bright trying to get it to him. Instead tries to dribble through the zone. Loose ball on the floor. Bright, Pittsburgh bodies. And it's a possession arrow that belongs to Stanford. So the Cardinal will maintain possession. You can see, Carey, it's just nothing easy on the offensive end for Stanford.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the one thing I'd like to see, and Powell's done a lot, I mean, he's been the bright spot on the offensive end. When he comes to that high post area, that free throw line area, because that kills zones, he's got to maybe post up those perimeter players there and really demand the basketball like he would on a post up in that free throw line area.
Patterson steps into a 3. In and out. That was halfway down. And the rebound juggled to Stanford. Brown, the acceleration, and probably would have had the bucket on the continuation had it gone, but instead, Deron Johnson hung with it. A foul called on Johnson, 6th-team foul against Pittsburgh. Johnson will head out, Cameron Wright in for Pitt. A couple of free throws. Or will they call the foul on the floor? No, they'll call the foul on the floor indeed. Bright goes into the backcourt to receive the inbound.
You've seen that play a lot.
Yeah, that's the inbound du jour. Verhoeven. Bright might have gotten away with a walk there. That's a long one from Brown. Well, I mean, that's his range, right?
I mean, you see the difference when he's in the basketball game, not only on the defensive end, but on the offensive end. Anthony Brown makes a difference. His ability to score. Remember, this is a player that had a hip injury a year ago. Stanford did not have his services. He's made a big difference this year for the Cardinal.
Yeah, he had a tremendous freshman year as James Robinson draws the foul. And as you mentioned, was hurt last year, and this year he's been great thus far.
So getting into the paint, and they get the pass into Verhoeven, and he kicks it over to Bright, and then Bright is able now to attack on a closeout, get into the paint. Good things happen when you're able to get into the paint on a possession. And we've seen too few possessions that Stanford has been able to do that in this game.
Robinson hits 1 of 2. Jason Randall into the game for Verhoeven. And a whistle underneath. Goes against Young. 3rd foul on Young. So bonus situation, 7th-team foul on Pitt. So free throws the rest of the way for Stanford. That's a good way to get back in a game.
Absolutely. I mean, this is exactly what Stanford needs. But again, free throws to me in this game have been a function of good offense,
right,
and a team's aggressiveness. That's what they mean. And so Stanford is playing better on the offensive end. They're attacking Pittsburgh, and that's why they're able to get to the bonus this early.
Eustace goes 1 for 2. Brown the rebound. Here's Bright. Lost it. I think it hit him last. It did. And out of bounds to Pittsburgh. Careened off the leg of Bright, and that's 12 turnovers for Stanford. Here's Young, powering in, flipping it up, no. Zana tried to finish, and Powell was able to redirect it. It's packed so quickly in transition on D. Here's Powell, guarded by Young, looking to take him off the dribble. Powell, no, follow, yes, from Houston.
Those are the types of plays that people around the Stanford program have come to expect from Josh Eustace. I mean, he just makes those winning plays. Offensive rebound, tip in, and Stanford now trying to build some momentum here.
8-1 run for Stanford. Robinson sees the lane, flipped it up a little too soft, loose ball to Randall. Can Stanford get it to single digits? Brown gives it up. Bright, good crossover. Knocked out of bounds from behind by Young. Aaron Bright had the step, and Young was able to just poke it away. Meanwhile, Dwight Powell for Stanford, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Deron Johnson checks back in for Pitt. And there is the backcourt. Somebody, you could hear a fan behind us saying this is their favorite play, which is worth a laugh because every inbound has been into the backcourt. Randall, that's a dangerous three and just not a good look there. There was still some shot clock left. Pittsburgh has missed its last 7 shots. Johnson changes that, plus the foul. A chance for a 4-point play for Deron Johnson.
He's one of those guys that can heat up in a hurry, and he has never seen a shot that he didn't like. Deron Johnson crosses half court. He thinks he's in range. He thinks he's open. And that's just bad transition defense by Stanford. I mean, you saw a couple of guys pointing. And, again, in his landing spot.
Got to let him land.
Got to let him land. That's a good call.
And those are perhaps back-to-back mistakes by Randall. The contested three and then following it up with the foul. And just like that. And that's what's difficult when you're trying to overcome a deficit like this. You feel like you have something going and then, boom, 2 possessions go wrong. It's 15 again.
Absolutely.
How? Well, he got hit hard. And a blocking foul called on Pitt. 7:54 to go in the second half. Pittsburgh continues to counterpunch when Stanford tries to back. Well, a reminder that ESPN will have the championship game from the EA Sports Maui Invitational as part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's tomorrow at 10 Eastern. Syracuse will take on Baylor or Dayton.
Good win for Syracuse today against Cal and Tyler Ennis, another freshman. 28 points. Trevor Cooney with 23. So the backcourt, the kind of the question mark going in for Jim Boeheim this season was his backcourt. Freshman at the point guard position, sophomore at the 2-guard position, and those guys shooting it well out there. Everybody shoots well in Maui. Have you seen those rims in Maui?
Yeah.
I mean, all you gotta do is hit the front rim, and the ball goes in.
Sunshine will do that for you.
Yeah.
You at least feel good about every release when you're in Maui.
Yeah.
But yes. And that was a big win for Dayton.
That was. Yep. Absolutely. Archie Miller and Dayton and A-10.
Here's Robinson using the young screen. Largest lead for Pitt was 18. Stanford had cut it to 11 moments ago. Robinson working in on Powell. Powell holds his ground nicely. Difficult shot. No roll. Young on the offensive glass gets denied. And here comes Aaron Bright. Bright weaving his way through. Might have gotten hit. Nonetheless, Pitt controls. Around a screen. Brown. So the 4th foul on Anthony Brown, as he got whistled for that, trying to fight off a screen. 17th foul. So a 1-and-1 for Pittsburgh. Stanford's going to need that long ball from Brown if they're going to get back in this game. Obviously spreads out the D.
No, I don't think you can afford to take him out.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're down 14, and you know, if you have the lead or the game's close, maybe you try to. But between Brown and Powell, I mean, they've been really the only offense for the Cardinal here in the second half.
Brown 4 of 4 from 3. Front end of the 1-and-1 is good. How about Pittsburgh's free throw shooting tonight? 24 of 26.
Impressive. They've been impressive. I mean, if you really think about every phase, I mean, their defense, but just the phases of defense, their transition, you mentioned it a couple possessions ago. Every time Stanford gets a run out or a turnover or a defensive rebound, there's 2 guys back. There's nothing. There's no numbers. There's no ability for a transition 3. There's nothing.
Even this, Stanford trying to get quick early offense. Nastich has the size, couldn't finish though. Enough of a contest from Young. Here comes Wright burning through the lane, lays it up and in. It's up to 17 again for Pittsburgh. Cameron Wright with 13 points on 6 of 8 shooting. Powell, good ball fake. Powell lays it in and a foul. 20 points for Dwight Powell, who also has 8 rebounds and 5 assists.
Well, he's been determined. I mean, he has been a determined young man, really the entire evening. They sole source of offense outside of Anthony Brown's 3-pointers and Dwight Powell. I mean, this is a big tournament for him, I think, in terms of his aggressive nature and coming out and really taking the leadership role in terms of scoring. He had 20 points last night, but more than anything, I think it's just him deciding that he's got to be the go-to guy, and he needs to score for his team to have a chance.
20 points each night. What do you think of Powell as a pro?
I like what I'm seeing from him here. You know, I think at times he's a little too unselfish. At times he goes to the rim soft. He hasn't gone to the rim soft the last 3 halves.
He's been storming to the
He's been storming to the hoop. He's thrown it down. You know, I like the performance he's putting on tonight. I think he has absolutely a chance to make the next level.
And in front of a lot of scouts here as well. Johnson sliding in, flips it home, and a foul. Deron Johnson has come up with a few big buckets off the bench. He now has 13 points.
Every time that Stanford seems like they're getting something going, Pitt answers right there. And remember, that's a foul where it looked like Nastich was there, but the timetable's been moved back. It's not when the shooter goes airborne. It's when he picks up the basketball in the upward motion. That is what you have to be set by that point in order to get that player control foul.
Foul against Zana, his third. 10th foul on Pittsburgh, so double bonus situation for Stanford. 2 shots for Nastich, who misses the first. Stanford has missed 5 of their 14 free throws. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh's missed just 3 of their 28. And Nastich hits the second. Stanford is the first team to score more than 58 points against Pitt this season. Hasn't felt like a sparkling offensive performance by any means, but that just shows you how ridiculous this Panther defense has been as Johnson leaves it short, follows it up though, and Johnson gets swiped by Pound, off and running on the break. Brown, jump stop through, and the lay-in with the left hand. Brown just able, Patterson make that, just able to snatch the pass.
Now, if you're Pitt here, you can't get careless. I mean, you're up 15, but there's still a lot of time.
5:10 to go in the second half. Progressive Legends Classic Championship game. Nice no look, and nobody was on zone.
Yeah, that's just a breakdown there of Stanford in their zone. I mean, when they turn and face, they usually have the center of that zone. Pick up the middle.
14 points for Zana. Nastich trying to answer over him, no. And Wright, so athletic, as a wing comes in for that rebound. Wright finding Newkirk. Settling it back down. Clock is the friend.
Yes, absolutely. Jamie Dixon trying to get the freshman's attention.
Let it wind, young fella.
Let it go.
Patterson working on Powell. That's a fun matchup. Gives it up. Newkirk, a bomb. No. And Eustace able to secure the rebound. Powell dumps it into Nastich. Quick turn, the hook, banks out. And another rebound for Cameron Wright. He has 7. To go with 13 points. The Pitt faithful enjoying what they've seen in back-to-back nights from their squad. Patterson leaves for Zana, and a foul on the pass. Otherwise, it was going to be another easy dunk for Zana. Timeout on the floor. Pittsburgh, a 17-point edge with the second half winding down in Brooklyn. 2:06 to go in the second half. The Progressive Legends Classic Championship. Pittsburgh 78-61 lead over Stanford. Karen, we talked before the game, during the game, about this being the toughest challenge that Pittsburgh has faced yet. Jamie Dixon has told us that last night as well. How about this being the toughest challenge and the way they've controlled this basketball from start?
I mean, it's been an impressive performance and a lot of unknown quantities for Pitt going into the year. I mean, we know Pittsburgh, we know the culture that Jamie Dixon has cultivated. And so you know the type of style and the principles that this program is built on. But when you look at Lamar Patterson and his abilities, when you look at what Zana has done this evening, I mean, this is a complete team. And, you know, I feel really confident about this team going into the ACC. I mean, it's going to be a tough challenge, but, you know, they've got some really nice pieces.
Randall gets hit. Pittsburgh has not traveled. It has not trailed either night. They did travel to get here. They haven't trailed either night, though. As we take a look in between shots at Pittsburgh upcoming schedule and see the kind of damage that they might be able to do if they continue on this run. Duquesne, Penn State, Loyola Marymount, Youngstown State, Cincinnati.
Well, Duquesne's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
You know, and so you never know what can happen with that. But the Cincinnati is the one you circle on it because Mick Cronin's team is a team that is built similarly in terms of hard-nosed, tough players, defense. They've got a great scorer at the guard position in Sean Kilpatrick, and that'll be at the Jimmy V December 17th at the Garden against Cincinnati.
Be a good contest. Kick ball here. If you're Stanford, 3:26 to try and somehow claw back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, it starts on the defensive end for Stanford. I mean, you cannot make a comeback by scoring baskets. You make a comeback by getting stops on the defensive end. That gives you the ability to chip in.
Pittsburgh has gotten everything they've wanted tonight. Scoring in the paint constantly. Every inbound is into the backcourt. It's amazing. Pittsburgh can let that clock wind as much as they want to. Cameron Wright, a fall-away jumper. Unnecessarily early on that shot. Not a good enough luck to do that.
Can't do everything right.
Yeah, right, exactly. They've only been immaculate for 2 days, Ryan. And now they will calm it down. Robinson and Randall came flying forward and just whacked Deron Johnson. 10th team foul against Stanford, 4th on Randall. 2 free throws for Pittsburgh, who has been sensational from the line tonight, 27 of 30.
You know, we talked about kind of the New York-New Jersey connection of Pitt, and with them transitioning from the Big East to the ACC, they're not going to play in the New York area that much anymore. So it's really been a point of emphasis for Jamie Dixon in his schedule to try and still play some games in this metro area. If you look at recruiting, New York area has been a great place for them to get players, and they've had a lot of success here as well.
Yeah, 43-20 in the New York City area. A lot of success at the Garden and trying to go 2-0 here at Barclays Center.
So he said they get 2 games here at Barclays Center, and then they're going to be playing in the Jimmy V in the Garden. So it's definitely a point of emphasis for Jamie Dixon as he moves forward in the ACC.
That 3 a little bit too strong. Remember, Newkirk is the first ACC area recruit they've had. Josh Newkirk from Raleigh, North Carolina, the first player to come from ACC territory and join these Pitt Panthers and Jamie Dixon.
So you're right. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, he doesn't want to close down this pipeline that he's had in New York, but it is going to open up some different areas there in the South. Best
of both worlds. You're established in this area, and now you're going to have some new ones as well, as that actually goes out of bounds off of Stanford. 4 to shoot for Pitt.
In basketball, checking in for Stanford, number 3, Malcolm Allen. Also,
and Stanford will start to empty the bench a little bit. Patterson a 3, of course. Lamar Patterson. 23 points. It was a new career high last night. It's just tied a career high tonight. And the Pittsburgh lead has ballooned to 22. Biggest of the night for the Panthers. Malcolm Allen, Robbie Lemons into the game for Stanford. Marcus Allen in as well. Robinson letting the shot clock line. Patterson with the shot clock down to 5, and the hand check on Allen. Marcus Allen. That means Lamar Patterson gets to go to the line to try and get a new career high.
And it looks like maybe Jamie Dixon was trying to get him out of the ball game. A couple subs at the table.
Patterson's going to want to make Barclays Center his permanent home.
No, he's been great. He's been great. Pretty much a no-brainer who the MVP's going to be.
Oh, no doubt about it. Back-to-back career-high nights for Lamar Patterson as he's put up 24 points this evening, 6 assists as well. How about 24 points on just 10 field goal attempts? That's efficient.
That's very efficient.
If you're into analytics, you like that. And Patterson misses the free throw. Final minute and 15 seconds from Barclays Center. Pittsburgh has never trailed in this tournament. A dominant win over Texas Tech last night, 76-53, and they have been in control all evening against Stanford as a foul goes against Pitt. For you, Kara, has stood out most about Pittsburgh's wire-to-wire domination these last 2 nights?
I still think it's their defense
that
has stood out the most in terms of they were so much better than the other teams in this tournament on the defensive end. But when you look big picture and when you look at the fact that Pitt hasn't always been this prolific of a scoring team, I think that really bodes well, for them moving forward, the fact they can score the basketball so well.
Lamar Patterson checking out to a nice applause. Fans also happy that Joshua Coe gets into the game, the 6'1" freshman out of Hawaii. With a minute remaining. Some pressure applied by Stanford. And Coe's pass knocked out of bounds. How about if you're Stanford? Where do you go from here after this tournament?
I think you just continue to have an emphasis on the defensive end. And this is a tape that you can show your players of how hard you have to play on that end of the floor, how precise you need to be in order to compete with the top teams in the country. And so that's what Johnny Dawkins can take away. But there's a silver lining in the fact that I think Dwight Powell really was a standout in terms of the offensive end and his aggressiveness. And I think he needs to take how he's performed here and bring that back to the farm.
Big night for Powell. Topping 20 points again. Allen on the entry and gets bumped. They'll count the bucket. So Malcolm Allen. So those touch fouls with the new rules, they're going to apply to the final 30 seconds of 20-point games as well.
They are.
As Allen completes the three-point play. And Aaron Nwankwo will check in for Pittsburgh. Come and get Derek Randall.
These three programs that are coming in from the Big East to the ACC, they're going to hit the ground running, aren't they?
Ooh, they
Syracuse in the finals, Maui Invitational. They'll take on Baylor. Pitt winning the Legends Classic. Notre Dame has got some great experience in the backcourt with Atkins and Grant.
And look, these teams, early season tournament wins, they always feel good about that. You're in tournament play, obviously that becomes paramount later in the year. You get your feet wet with that feeling. Always feels significant as Coe tried to squeeze one in. And Pittsburgh with a two-day wire-to-wire domination of the Progressive Legends Classic. Jamie Dixon's team improves to 6-0 and claims the crown here at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Lamar Patterson with another tremendous performance, had a career high 23 points last night, a new career high 24 tonight. Our final score, Pittsburgh 88 and Stanford 67. Coming up next here on ESPNU, it'll be ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Duke at Wake Forest. Complete and utter domination for Pittsburgh. They did not trail for a moment in 2 days in Brooklyn. For Kara Lawson and our entire crew, I'm Ryan Rucco. Have a wonderful evening and good night from Brooklyn, New York.